one of the things I have not done on this post-game show enough is praise Kyren Williams.
Sure.
Every time I watch him play, there's just like you want to say special almost to an extent. You know, he's definitely a guy that knows where the first down marker is.
Yes.
And you can't say that for a lot of guys. He had the big third down, like it was a 3rd and 13 catch there right before the interception. That was a huge play. He gets in the end zone most of the time when you don't think he's going to be able to reach there. And I don't know. It's just, even with his pedestrian numbers this year, I guess, at least from a rushing per attempt, maybe, at least going into this game, I think it was 2.9.
I feel like you can't put that all on Kyren. Because last year his numbers were great, obviously, and he got a ton of praise, and deservedly so. And I think he can be a better running back this year and have worse stats. I think that's a very possible reality that we're living in.
Yeah, I think he's certainly a better player. And he's 1 year older, and he's one of those guys that unless you're watching the game, you really don't realize how good he is. And that's kind of why I mentioned the stats, is that you look at it, maybe his rushing yards, or at least his yards per carry, and so on and so forth, and say, okay, how is this kid going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick? But when you really dive into what he does on an every down basis for this team, pass blocking, catching the ball out of the backfield, like I said, somehow finding ways to just pick up first downs when you don't think he should be able to. And then on top of that, I think he's just a tremendous leader. He's vocal. He can certainly get into the head of the other team when he's on. And I think those are things that you don't put in a stat sheet necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. He's the heart and soul of this team. I don't think that there's any questioning that. Everything can't be put in the box score, but even when he's not having a great game, as far as rushing yardage totals, his impact is always felt. And to me, that's certainly one of the marks of a great player. And I really do think Kyren Williams is that. I'm excited to see him at the next level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he's going to be one of those guys that if you put him on the right team, specifically, he can make noise probably year one.
Yeah, certainly.
Another thing I wanted to mention today was the offensive line. I thought last week was probably their best performance, and then I think this week topped it. I think maybe having Joe Alt and Andrew Kristofic as the main two at left tackle and left guard for the majority of the game, or the whole game for that matter, probably played a role. They're starting to build a little consistency there, and I think they're actually getting into a better part of their schedule when it comes to maybe playing some weaker defenses too, which helps.
Definitely.
But they had some push today, specifically early on. The first half, I thought they pretty much were able to do whenever they wanted to. And, whether it was running the football, giving Cone time, I think he was, if I remember correctly, only sacked one time, which doesn't seem like a Notre Dame stat from this year.
No, my goodness. No, it does not.
But definitely looked more like Notre Dame offensive lines of old. Or certainly an offensive line that's progressing into what could be a really good offensive line, next year and in years after.
It was a group that always I don't think that there's been reason to question the talent on the offensive line, because, and better than anybody, just how well they've been able to recruit this position. Well, those positions, I should say, but they were always going to need time to become what they're starting to become. That's the one place that you need time to gel. You need time to figure it out as a group. And they've kind of done that now. It's just, it took them longer than we would have liked, because everyone wants things to happen instantly. And unfortunately, it doesn't do that, but they look good now. And if this team is the best version of this team come maybe a New Year's Six bowl, that's a successful season, because they're continuing to get better, and that's all you can ask for.
And I think that's an important note. For as interesting as this team has been to watch the majority of the season so far, if they're playing their best football at the end of the season, then this could be a team that ends up going 12-1 possibly.
Yeah.
11-1 with a New Year's Six bowl win or whatever bowl they end up going to, and then people will look back on this year as actually very successful overall. And I think me and you both agree that the program itself is at a point where going like 9-3 and less is kind of unacceptable at this point, regardless of some of the struggles that they've had this year. But this is easily a team that should be 10-2, 11-1. With New Year's Six aspirations. I don't think Notre Dame's a program that should have necessarily playoff aspirations every single year, at least until they move to the 12 team playoff or whatever.
If that happens, that's going to have to be their goal every year. But right now, I think if every recruiting class that you sign has at least one playoff appearance, you're successful.
Yeah, and I think right now they're proving that even maybe two of those classes could possibly end up being there. And next year's schedule, and I think the 2023 schedule lend themselves to Notre Dame's really good. They'll probably make the playoff both years just because of who they play.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was certainly nice seeing the offensive line play well. Like I mentioned, regardless who they were playing. I think it's a nice confidence boost. They also happen to have two of their top offensive line recruit targets in attendance in Billy Schrouth, who they're battling for with Wisconsin, ironically enough. And then Emil Wagner, I think, was also in attendance. He's a kind of a Kentucky, Ohio State, Notre Dame, battling out with those three teams, it looks like, and they were both in attendance. So nice to see them maybe have their best performance of the year with those guys in attendance, and then also probably their best offensive performance or team performance, I should say, this year with their biggest recruiting weekend, at least since 2019, considering last year there were no visits.